In this video, we're going to test our droplet by using two TIFF files, and there's going to be a lot of waiting in this video. So right up front, I will tell you, if you don't want to sit through this automated action with me, then feel free to skip this video. I just want to run through and test it on a couple images just to make sure it works before we run all the rest of our images through it and then walk away from the computer and let that do the editing. All of our TIFF files are not completely done anyway. We still have about 20 minutes left on that. So what we can do here, let's come into these TIFF files that have not been updated. This is the one we did in the last video, just setting everything up. But if everything works, we should be able to just drag these on here. And then let Photoshop do its thing. So it's going to load in. Can move this out of the way so we can see Photoshop here. Our cursor is probably going to change here pretty soon. There we go, as it's loading the file in. So reading that first TIFF file. So the way this should work is it's going to run through that on one of the files. Because we added the save and close in our last video, it will save the file, the TIFF file, overwrite the one that we have with the layers and the edits and stuff, and then it will close that file, and then it opens the next file. So it's kind of a batch process, but it's something that happens automatically because it saves and closes. And so we can drop the rest of the images onto it and then automate that process of adding very subtle sharpness, denoise, and in this case, because we added in Luminar, just a little bit of skin cleanup. Not so much. You saw the settings we had in there. I think I only set it to like 2 or 3 or something super minimal, because I want it to be very minimal, but I want to add just a little touch to it just to clean it up just a little bit. So you can see before and after, before it saves, a little bit there. Again, very subtle differences. I try to get pretty much 90%, 80 to 90%, depends on the shoot, in frame. And then the last little bit, that's why all of these are very subtle edits, which is also why I try to automate a lot of them, because they are very subtle. They can be done across the entire image. Some of the more image-specific edits, so like if we want to remove this down here, that's going to be an image-specific edit to this one. That's not going to apply to all the other ones where you can't see that in the shot. But some of these subtle edits are across every single image. So I get those knocked out first and save time by having the computer do it for me automatically. In this set, we had, what did we have? Let's see what's exporting here. Looks like 80. Oh, these are ARWs also. So 50 or so images to edit, which, you know, I've had times where I'm doing 10 times that many in a single session, where, you know, I'll come out with some 400 or 500 shots that I need to edit. So that's why I try to automate as much as I can, because coming in and doing all these different edits specific to each image have to be specific to that image. But the more I can automate the things that are across the board, across all of the images, the faster I can get to doing those specific edits and cleanups, and it just saves time overall. Okay, so it should be saving this. So let's pull this over so we can see. So it should be saving. This is 4078. So this file size should update. Probably be a little over a gig like this one here, because we're adding in some layers to it. And then it should open 4081 and run it through the exact same process. So let's see if that's what happens. That's what the outcome should be. Once this is done saving, should see the file size update first. And remember, Capture One is still running in the background, creating even more TIFFs. So not only is my computer processing multiple things at the same time, I mean, I have a pretty fast computer, but it's also processing multiple things at the same time of big images. But also I'm sending them all to my central server. So that's where everything is stored. And so the bandwidth and such, there's just a lot of different bottlenecks that can cause little bits of slowdown here and there. And as you've done photo editing, you'll know things are not immediate. Things are not going to be instantaneous. Some things just take time. And sometimes things just take time where like this, where it's saving a file and we're basically just sitting and waiting for it. Normally, if I was not recording, what I would do is I would either open up something in a different window, do some work that does not require Photoshop or Capture One or something like that, switch tasks for a little bit, or even switch to my laptop or a different computer and, check email or, again, working on something that does not require Photoshop or Capture One or these tools, or I can let the computer crank on that and then just come back to it when it's done. And this is taking quite a while to save that file. It still seems to be working. You can see the progress is moving. It's just taken quite a while. Nearing the end, so we should see this change here pretty soon. This is where I really wish I had some more jokes or something like that. Just sitting here watching. Okay, it finished. All right, yep. So file size updates. This file should close, and then it should open 4018, this one here, and run it through that same process. So back into Photoshop, we should see that second file opening. Might take a second. Yep, there we go. Reading the TIFF file. And it should be 4081 that gets opened. Run through that process. Yep, 4081. And then it should run through the process. All the different plugins. You can see just the slight little difference that it does here. Adding just a little bit. Again, very, very minimal. I don't know if you'll be able to release before it saves. All right, so very minimal update there. And then we'll run through denoise. Is the next one. This doesn't really even need that much denoise. If I remember right from the last one, yeah, okay, you can see down here, I just have it set to 5, noise reduction at 5, out of 100, right? So it's super minimal. But again, this shot here, it's not a night shot. I didn't have my ISO at a high setting, so it doesn't really need that much denoise. We can always add more later on if we need to, but just an initial base layer. Run through Luminar and its process, which again, earlier on we did was just doing a little bit of skin cleanup, a little bit of eye enhancement. And then once that's done, it'll run through the rest of the action and then should start saving the file right away and then close it. And then because we only had 2 images in there, yep, saving the TIFF file, closing it. So if you remember, the last one took quite a while. So I will pause the video right now and then come back right when it's nearly done and we can see this finish. Okay, it's nearing the end here. So it should be any minute now that This finishes, and then this file size will jump up a little bit because we included some layers with our script. But this all works. Everything should be good to go as soon as Capture One is done saving off those TIFF files. Okay, maybe it wasn't quite as close as I originally thought. That's the thing. It would be nice if it had an actual percentage instead of this, just to be able to see. Even though I know sometimes the percentages, earlier we saw I had it up here, but when we're running the action, it doesn't show that because it's a batch with the droplet. But I wish it would still have that. Even though it doesn't, the time estimates for saving is never really good. Really, there's no great way of knowing exactly how much longer this is going to take because there are too many variables involved. Computer speed, hard drive speed, network bandwidth because I'm going to the server, the file size, Capture One in the background is also processing images. So there's all of that on top of it. What is it processing? You can tell there's a lot of variables involved. So it's really hard for a computer to be able to estimate a lot of that because it doesn't know a lot of those variables. Like Photoshop doesn't know what Capture One is doing and saving. It just knows that it's using bandwidth. And so it doesn't know when that's going to change. If Capture One is taking a lot more bandwidth because it's running something, well, then Photoshop is going to have to slow down because there's only so much bandwidth that a hard drive has or that a computer has or network has or whatever that may be. Anyway, long story short there is that this is still saving. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. We want to be able to see this file size update as soon as that is finally done, which is getting closer. There we go. All right. So this should update right here. Yep. Okay. There we go. So we are good to go. Now the next step is pretty much waiting for this to finish. So I'm not going to make you wait here for that. I will go ahead and stop this video here, and then we will come back when that's done. And by come back, I meant come back in the next video. We're going to end this video here. Okay. See you in the next one.